Hey, what's going on everybody? Alex here with Freedom Mowers. I hope you all are doing well. We've got a nice crusty Cub Cadet. I think it's the LT 1045 we're going to go check out today. Try to drag this thing out of the mower pile and get this thing revived if we can. So let's jump right to it, check it out, and see what we got to do to make this happen. Alright, here it is. This is a, let's check under the seat. I did look earlier. I believe this to be a, got from May of 2006. This is a LT 1045 Series 1000 hydrostatic, actual true hydrostatic. I believe this is the 46-inch deck. It doesn't say, the stickers are not on there anymore, but I believe this is the triple blade. We are sporting everyone's favorite Kohler Courage 20 single cylinder. Overall, the engine actually looks to be in pretty good shape, but the seat pan area on this machine came from down by the beach here, and there is a lot of rust. As you guys can see, we've got a hole here. There's all kinds of paint bubbles. We've got some rust here on the back. There is a hole over here. I think this is where one of the screws is supposed to be, and we've also got a little bit of some hole over here. But I'm hoping that if this thing is good as far as transmission and deck and engine, that we can pop the pan off from here and get that sanded down, fix a couple of those holes, and just put a paint job on it, and hopefully this will be a decent machine. Earlier I got it hooked up. I did pump up the back two tires, still had some air, they were just a little bit low. This tire was basically flat. It does still have the nubs and everything, so it was a new tire. Now the one on this side is totally off the bead, as you can see, and also the rear brakes were locked up on it. So I went ahead and loosened up the two 7/16 screws to just back off the plate on it so that I could free the stuck brake pad. At this point, basically what I want to do is just get this thing up in the air where it's at. I'm gonna swap out, I should have another wheel and tire we can put on here, and then we can get this pulled over to the shop and actually get a good look at the fluids on here and kind of some of the stuff that I've noticed, and get this thing hopefully rolling. Right, and after a little bit of a struggle, I got another used wheel on here. Had to find a spacer to make all this fit, and then my cotter pin wouldn't fit through, so I got a little bit of baling wire just to hold that for now, just to get this over to the shop. So we should be good now. Brakes are free, hydrostatic release is on, and I just got to pull the jack out, and just got the four-wheeler to pull it over there. So I'll meet y'all at the shop. All right, and finally start giving this thing a look over here. Now, besides all the obvious rust, underneath of the hood looks surprisingly clean. This does have a battery in it from 3 of 2022, so I guess the last time this did run was just a couple of years ago. So hopefully this won't take a lot to get going. I have checked to make sure that the engine spun free, and it does have good compression, hopefully not too much compression. The shroud bolts are off. They were sitting in the rear cup holder, at least 3 of them, and they're just about as rusty as the seat pan here. 2 fuel pumps. The original one, the output side going to the carburetor is broken off, so I'm assuming someone just stuck a fuel pump on here, but none of the rest is connected. We'll check the oil here in just a minute. Did look at the blades, or at least the blade that I could see, and it looks to be almost in new condition. The back side of the blade looks good. There's not like sand wear or much wear on it at all, so they were probably recently installed before this got parked. I have checked or smelled the gas in it. If you guys can see on the sight glass, there's almost a half a tank in here, but it smells terrible. So it was probably filled around the time that that battery was installed, and honestly don't know anything else about it. There was 6 volts in the battery when I turned the key on, and now it turned off. So we will try to hook up the jump pack to that. Get you guys set up here. Check the oil. And the oil is right up to the full mark and looks almost brand new. Doesn't smell like fuel, so I think we are good there. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna grab the jump pack. We'll see if we're getting the proper voltage from the jump pack to the gauge on the dash, and then we can see about, I guess we'll pop the air cover off too, but we can see about turning this over and seeing if it does, and take it from there. Everything on the engine here is pretty much loose or hanging. So it has a brand new pre-filter in it, and brand new air filter. Yeah, those are absolutely brand new. It looks like it hasn't even run with this on there. So let's go ahead and hook up the jumper pack. And see what we get here on the dash. See if you guys can see. It is reading 11.7. So 143.9 hours on this machine. It's reading 11.7. I think I've got almost 13 volts in the jump pack, but there is all kinds of mud and corrosion on that cable, so that would probably be where our voltage drop is at. Let's go ahead and set a parking brake on here. Alright, that is set. And we'll see if this rotates over for us. Awesome. So we are turning over with the key. Definitely have some voltage drop. I don't know if the starter is a little bit weak on this. We'll pull that upper shroud off too and take a look. But that is great news. So let's pop, I'll pop the upper shroud off real quick and grab some starting fluid. We'll give it a shot and see if it kicks over for us. So far everything looks okay under here. I don't see anything abnormal, no nests. On this machine it does have the manual choke on it, but it is frozen solid, so I don't know if it's in the carburetor or in the cable linkage. We can get to that when the time comes. We don't need it to throw some starter fluid in there, just making sure y'all can see. And this will tell us if we've got spark and compression really quick. All right, here we go. Come on. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Well, engine doesn't sound bad. I should have checked earlier to make sure that the usual Courage bolts are not loose. This is the sump here on the top of these, and Usually these front bolts are the ones that get loose and make contact with the flywheel and destroy everything. And they normally crack the case right in here. I don't see anything right off the bat. Usually you can tell if there's like a ton of oil leaking on this one side. But so far we look to be okay here. So, probably be in our best interest to go ahead and get the carburetor off from this machine. Obviously we're gonna have to get all the fuel out of the tank. I guess before we take it in the shop, we'll go ahead, let me see what I gotta do, pop this mower deck off, and we'll get the hood off. Then we can pull it in and see what we gotta do to get this carb cleaned up. And this come right up. And the mower deck, it looked like we just need to take the belt off. This is electronic PTO. So we've got the belt loose. Drop it off the main pulley, and then there's two like quick release tabs, one on each side. Alright, that one's loose. I'll get the other side, and then we just need to get it off the front linkage. Alright, that should be it to take the mowing deck off. Just gotta raise the arms back up. Hood is off, mower deck is out. Definitely a little grumbly, but make sure everything's free here. Yeah, we should be in fair shape with the mower deck on here. Yeah, those blades are almost brand new. And I don't see any holes right off the bat, other than just having some paint flaking and packed with some crud. We'll get this thing in the shop and get going on this fuel system. Alright, and what I want to do before we get too far here is try to start draining this fuel out of the tank. Now, I am going to be taking this whole pan off and we can get better access to the tank, but I also want to get this carburetor cleaned and also be able to feed some fuel to it without having to hang an auxiliary tank and all that, just to make sure that our transmission and everything is good. So the way this one's routed, it goes through the frame rail, comes up back here, and the only way to get this out I can see right now is taking the fuel filter off, which looks like it was full of water, and then I've got to feed this down through the frame. I do need to take the clamp off, but I'm basically just going to feed the fuel line back down through the frame and then drop it into this pan so we can start draining and see what we got going on. So, yeah, we're getting nothing out of the tank, and it feels like our fuel line is pinched back there. So we might be out of luck without running a whole new fuel line, which I was going to do anyways when we remove that tank. But all I'm getting out of this line right now is straight water. So I guess what we'll go ahead and do is we'll pop this carburetor off from here. We'll take a look at it, which the carburetor to me almost looks like a replacement. We'll see when we get this off and just see the condition of it. We'll try to get this all cleaned up, and then we can just run the auxiliary tank, just make sure we get this up and running, and then we can kind of make sure it moves back and forth, see how the transmission feels, and then we will work on taking that back pan off. So let me get some tools set up and we'll take this carb loose. So normally we would have another bolt holding the upper part of the cover here, but that's part of the shroud to come off. So I've got two 10mm bolts. As I throw that one, got two 10s. Then there's a breather hose right here, and I believe that's it on this particular one. And then also you could take your fuel line off. We're not going to have that issue. So disconnect the hot side here, and I don't know what size that is, maybe 8mm. There's a ground, yeah, 8mm. So I can take the ground wire loose off from here. It's got like a little star washer that goes on the back side of the cable. So now that's all disconnected, and we should be able to just pop out on it. There we go. It's not supposed to come all apart like that though. Okay, that's not right. We should be separating here. There we go. All right. So let's put this back into place. Supposed to get and then twist out, and then this one, you got to line up on this plastic piece. I'm trying to make sure I got it right. There we go. So now we should be able to twist and pull up, but it's pulling the whole plastic out. There we go. All right, that's how you take that carb off. So let's go ahead and I'll move you guys over to the other side of the shop, and we'll crack this carb open. But this is definitely a replacement, because there is no name on here and just some random numbers. So this carb was replaced. All right, we'll get this cracked open. I did check and I was able to just crack it free. I just wanted to make sure I had the right size wrench, but I have not opened this up. So the solenoid is completely stuck like I thought it was, because we didn't hear that click earlier. I can already see crumbs flying out of here. Let's see if I can not tear that. Oh yeah, that's real nice in there, isn't it? It looks like it's mainly just on the bowl though. I'll have to check the jet, but I can't. I gotta go get, I got pliers right here. See if I can't get the pin freed up here without breaking the float. So our needle seems to be in decent shape. Float's dry. The jet is actually clear, but we'll go ahead and clean all of the ports on here. I'll just go through it with carb cleaner and welder cleaning tips, and probably take out the air fuel adjustment screw, which a lot of these don't have, so surprisingly this one has it. But it looks like we'll just be trying to probably free up this anti-backfire solenoid, and then also obviously getting this bowl cleaned up. So let me work on that, and I'll show you guys once I've got that done, and we'll try to pop that back on and hook it up to a temporary tank. All right, got everything cleaned up. Just gonna show you guys before I put it all together. Now the bowl is in a little rough shape, but most of that is just discoloration in the metal and pitting, but I did get that all cleaned up. I was able to get the fuel solenoid freed up and went through and cleaned everything inside the carb, so we should be all good there. I'm just gonna go ahead and put everything back together on it, and we'll get that remounted up. I'll show you guys when we're hooking up that tank and see if we can get this thing to run on its own. All right, let me show y'all where I'm at. Did get the carburetor mounted back up, and kind of the way we've got everything situated right now, I have a tank just kind of strapped to the dashboard. I just hooked the jumper pack back up. I needed to put a new fuel filter in line on this tank just to be on the safe side. And I also disconnected the choke because I wanted to see if it was stuck, and it is the cable. I don't even know where it's at right now, but I've got to free that up. I got it to move a little bit, but it's super stiff. So let me set y'all up real quick. We're going to add a little bit of fuel in here, and then we should be able to crank this up and see if it moves. Hoping this carburetor is going to be good enough to work for us. If not, I'll have to either see if I have another one or if we're going to have to order something online. But at this point, we're just trying to basically test all the functions of it, and then we can kind of go from there. So transmission sounds fine, nice and smooth. We're gonna have to check the drive belt on it, but we are making good progress. I think at this point what we're going to do is I got to figure out how to take this back pan off, because we're going to have to get that fuel tank out, empty it, clean it, probably run new fuel hose, get everything up to the carburetor, and at least get that far with it, and then we can kind of just go from there. So I'll check in with you guys once we figure out how to get this back off. All right, and it is next day. Spared you guys about the 2 hours it took for me to get this back pan off from the mower, but I'll show you guys how it came off. We had a bolt underneath of the foot area on each side. I had the pedals that needed to come off, the brake, and then the forward reverse for the hydrostatic. I had 1, 2, 3, and 4 bolts on the underside, and then this is where I really struggled underneath. I'll show you guys on the pan, but this is where the sticker normally is. There was a 10mm here and here, but this one was so rusted out there was not even a head on the bolt, and I ended up trying to weld a nut onto it. Actually, yeah, here's three of the nuts I tried to weld, and I got nowhere with it. ended up finally just drilling it out and was finally able to pull the pan off. So at this point, we've just got our fuel hose here, is zip tied in a couple of spots, and then just goes right underneath the tank, and the tank at this point just lifts right out. So I will be pulling that out in a minute, but I'll show you guys the pan on here now. You can see this is the spot that I had to drill out. I just put a piece of tape to hold the sticker out of the way while I was drilling, but now I can actually get to the underside here, which is obviously in pretty rough shape. Gonna have a lot of sanding, and I think I'm gonna try to do possibly some fiberglass on the bottom side, and then maybe just some filler, some body filler on the top side, just to kind of clean it up when we get to that point. But that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the gas tank out of here, and I'll show you guys the first little bit of fuel that comes out of the tank, and then I will proceed to get that fully dried. And also what I'm going to do at this point, since we've got everything pretty much out of the way, more than likely tomorrow I'll try to pressure wash everything here and get it cleaned up pretty good, and then we can move forward with reinstalling the tank and running a new fuel line up to the carburetor. So all right, got this elevated a little bit. So I think what happened, honestly, why they had the other fuel pump on there, was that they were having issues with it running. Tried to change out the fuel pump and that didn't work, and then I think that's kind of where they left it from there. So we'll see if there's a blockage in the tank. I'm just gonna cut it right here. Yeah, and let me show you guys, get you down close here. So the fuel line is basically completely collapsed, and there's a tiny little bit of room there, but we're not getting anything out. So I figured I'd give you all a little peek of what's coming out of here. It smells terrible, and there's quite a bit of water in here. So I'm gonna get this all the way drained, get it cleaned up, and we will move on from here. All right, and it is next day. Got the fuel tank all cleaned out, drained, and I've been letting it dry. So this one actually just has the fitting is part of the tank instead of you know, like a rubber insert for it. Now at this point, all I need to do is go ahead and hook up. I've got a spool of some fuel line. I'm gonna go ahead and connect the end, and basically just I'm gonna start it. I'm gonna run it under, connect it to the tank. And then here is the old zip ties. I'm just gonna put some new ones. Got 1, 2, and then it went through the frame rail right here. There's a grommet, and then it comes underneath of the dash and then over to the carburetor. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those old zip ties completely clipped off. I'm gonna get the fuel line at least routed, and then I'll show you guys when I get a fuel filter, and then we can install it on this other fuel pump. From there we can go ahead and start cranking on it, make sure we're getting fuel coming through the pump, and as long as everything's good with that, then we can go ahead and hook up our line to the carburetor and get this thing cranking, hopefully running on its own with the fuel tank that it needed to have. So we should be okay to start cranking. So we'll look for fuel at this point. Alright, well, we're getting fuel out. So let me finish. I guess we can go ahead and, honestly, we can just hook up the line that I had attached for the moment, and I'll get all this cleaned up a little bit later. I do need to take, I put a rag in the carburetor earlier when I was washing it. After, I gotta show you guys. Alright, so I had to take the rag out of here. I still don't have the choke hooked up, so we'll just manually choke it, and hopefully we've got this thing at least running on its own gas tank. Sweet. Well, we are good as far as I can tell, pumping fuel. We'll go ahead and give this thing a crank again. It is still surging a little bit. I'm gonna try to make an adjustment on the air fuel, and at least we are making good headway. So let's try to crank this again. Come on. Awesome. I think it's having a little bit of trouble pulling the fuel up too, because we don't have the air cover or the filter or anything on it. And I did also just do about a half a turn on the air fuel, and you guys could hear that it cleaned up that surge a little bit. I didn't hear it this time. So overall, we are sitting pretty good, I think, at this point. I know the battery connections are probably not the best, and I want to clean all that up, including the starting solenoid, and just make sure all of our connections are good battery wise. So yeah. One other thing I had forgot to mention to you guys, as you can see, this drive belt is toast and there is a big chunk missing out of it. So that's that noise I heard the other day. It's actually just the tensioner spring kind of bouncing back and forth. But so we'll have to get a drive belt on order for this, and we still needed a deck belt as well. But we are sitting pretty good right now. I'm gonna turn this fuel off, figure out where we're gonna go next, and hopefully get this thing rolling here pretty quick. Alright, it is the next day out here. I'm gonna be getting started on this back shell, and I think what I'm gonna do at this point is pretty much just get all of the plastics off from there, those foot pads. I am gonna take this seat along with the whole bracket off. I believe it's just these 4 bolts. And I think that that underside pan right here as well comes off. Once those are off, then I can get started on actually starting to sand all this down. Alright, and I got all of the accessories off from here. We're just left with the pan. I've got my drill out here with a steel wire brush on it, and I'm gonna go ahead and start just getting everything knocked down. I'll get a metal scraper on here as well. I'll show you guys basically when I get all of the loose paint and everything chipped off, and then we can just kind of go from there to figure out what we're gonna do to fill these holes in. All right, well, here we are another day later. I did finish up the fiberglass work, at least getting the holes up there filled. I've got a little bit up here that I need to trim where the pedals are going to go through, and sanded this down all right. Did some masking on the stickers, and I know this is not going to turn out perfect. I was not going for perfection, but I wanted to at least get the holes filled and get this thing looking a little bit better than it did. Now on the underside, I have gone ahead and painted all of the areas that were a little bit on the rusty side. I kind of sanded all that down as well, so I think we're in pretty good shape. I did just scuff all this down with a Scotch-Brite, and I have some Magic, it's like the Tractor Supply Cub Cadet yellow. So I'm gonna go ahead and start spraying this on. I'll show you guys just laying on a little bit, and I'll probably end up with a couple of coats, and we'll see how it is. Got this all shook up, and we should be ready to start laying down some paint. So I'm just gonna start from the back and work my way around as even as I can. I'm just gonna put down a real light coat to begin with, just to get it tacky, and then I will probably do a couple medium coats, and I think we'll be good after that. So I'm sure some of you guys are yelling at me going like, oh man, you did not prep that thing very well. But you know, at the end of the day, this is probably going to be like a $400 lawnmower, so we're just doing our best here to get this thing looking a little bit sharper and give this body just a little bit more life. So let me keep going here. I'll show you guys what it looks like when I get done. All right, well, it has been a couple of days, and I apologize. Some of the footage got corrupted of where I was installing the back pan back on the mower, but we are going to keep pressing forward here, get this drive belt done. Now the one on here, I did look up, it is 1/2 inch by 78, so I'm getting ready to go up to the store and grab that. But get you guys over here in the light a little bit. Overall, this turned out okay. Definitely can see where, you know, it didn't do a very good job with the fiberglass, and I wasn't too concerned about the body work on here. There is a little bit of some pitting, but unless I wanted to spend, you know, 20 hours on the body of this trying to get it perfect, it's just not worth it. But we did get all the holes fixed and all the rust sanded down, painted, and this thing should be good for a few years to come. I also did paint the bottom panel here that was rusted, and I just scuffed that down. Did the back tray here where the gas tank is, just so it would match the color that I used. But overall, I put the pedals back on, and that's kind of where we're at with things. So we will go ahead and get on with the drive belt, and then we'll go ahead and get going on this mower deck as well. All right, just got back from Tractor Supply. I got the 1/2 inch by 78 belt. First thing we got to do is, well, I've already got it up in the air. I was trying to disconnect the electric PTO wiring, but I've been fighting this thing for about 10 minutes and I cannot get it to come loose. I'm about to break the connector. I've already broken a piece off from it. So I think what I'm going to do is try to just get it loosened up and try to put it off to the side where it's not hanging by the wires, and we can just go from there. I have gone ahead and checked. It was 5/8 on the crankshaft pulley or the PTO, and then I've got a 9/16 to go on the tensioner. We'll go ahead, I'll get y'all set up underneath here and we will get moving on this. We'll get this out of the way, and then we should be able to drop down our drive pulley. I'll just go over the steering rod with this. Hopefully we can get this pulley to move downward. I guess what I can do in the meantime is I'll get these loosened up. I was kind of hoping I could slip the belts by down here, but don't know if that's quite gonna work. That's why I got the 9/16 so that we can loosen up this other idler. Let me get a pry bar and see if I can get this the drive pulley to lower down for us. Spot under here. All right, we got that to drop down a little bit. I think I'm gonna have to get it a little bit farther. I may have bent that pulley too. I'll probably pull it all the way off here so that I can make sure I didn't tear anything up. Trying to get some of this belt off. All right, there we go. We'll pull this off too. Yeah, I definitely bent that some, so I'm gonna have to put that up on the bench and straighten that out a little bit. But we got the front of the belt off. Should be able to pull it right on through now. So all I did was just pulled it off from these idlers over here. They're a little noisy, but bearings feel all right. I'll go ahead and slide this belt right over top of the hydrostatic, and don't yank on it or break the fins on the fan. And the belt is off. So let me straighten up this pulley real quick, and then I'll show you guys when we're putting the belt on. All right, hopefully you guys will be able to see a little bit better. Got my high beam on here, but I did go through and straighten out that pulley, so we are good there. It's actually got to go up this way. So we'll go ahead and slide the belt. So we'll just go reverse order here over the transmission. Sorry, I know my head's right in the way, isn't it? You just gotta be able to see. All right, we're over that side. All right, so now that we gotta go around this pulley. I keep getting caught literally on everything in the that is around here. Slide this back up through this plate, back up to the crank pulley. Some of this stuff would be easier if I just tipped the mower on its side to show you guys. If I wasn't filming, it would be easier, but alright. So I got that at least slipped up there. I just want to make sure I'm all the way on the crankshaft or the transmission. So I guess what we'll do is I'll pop this back off, back here and back here for a second, so that we can get the crankshaft back up. I don't even know if I'm gonna finish showing you guys up here because I'll be fighting it. You guys are in the way, but you get the idea. I just got to put the pulley back up there, make sure we got our belt on, and then in between the guides up here that I'll show you guys when we're done, and we'll just double check, make sure all of our routing looks right. All right, I got it all back on there. PTO was giving me a run for the money trying to get that thing mounted because there was a washer on top of it, and then trying to get the PTO aligned because you have the stopper that's on the other side. There's the two prongs that go on the frame to keep it from rotating, and everything else looks good though. I did check. The front of the belt is underneath of the guard like it's supposed to be. We are on that front one is a flat idler, so the belt should be, the flat part of the belt should be on that. The V part is on the V. Go around the transmission, come back around, and then we are on another V pulley. So everything should be good there. Feels good though. Transmission sounds quiet. I think one of those pulleys or maybe the tensioner has got a little squeak to it though. I can still hear it, but it's not making that horrible banging sound it was before. We had a chunk missing out of the belt. All right. Alright, and moving on to the mower deck, I wanted to show you guys, because when we first initially pulled this mower deck off, I had it laying flat on the ground and I was spinning the pulleys, and it did sound a little bit noisy, but with it up in the air and not brushing against the grass, I'll show you guys that these are all buttery smooth and quiet. So I think we should be pretty good, not having to worry about replacing any bearings. I did also check too to make sure that the blades end to end are lined up. We don't have any, sorry, trying to do this one-handed. Everything is nice and even here on both sides. So we shouldn't have any bent blades or bent mowing deck. So everything looks good here. Yep, we all line up. So at this point, I did spray a little bit of WD-40 on the pivot point here, but I'm gonna get all that cleaned up because I don't want a bunch of excess oil. I just was trying to free up these tensioners here, and everything is moving pretty good now. But let me get going on this. I'll show you guys once I get this scuffed and sanded down what we look like, and then we will get a couple coats of some black paint on here. And I've already ordered the deck belt, which was 1/2 inch by 122, I believe. I'll double check. I've got it on the Amazon cart, but that's the deck belt for this one, 46 inch with the electric PTO. So show you guys when this is prepped, and let's get some paint on it. All right, we're about a half an hour later. Show you guys what I used real quick. I've got just a small wire bristle brush, a little bit bigger one, flat scraper, got my drill with a brush on there as well, and then I've got some bug and tar remover. I just wiped everything down, but I think this should turn out pretty well. Definitely has some pitting just like everything else, but I did wipe it. Everything is scuffed and ready to go and free moving. So I'm gonna lay down a couple coats of paint the best I can because it's pretty windy. All right, the GoPro decided to cut off on me earlier, trying to show you guys the prep work on it. You guys can see I've got 2 coats of Rust-Oleum semi-gloss black on here, and it looks pretty good. It will do plenty good for what we need on that mower, and I am just waiting on that deck belt to come in. So as soon as that's here, we are going to get this thing mounted up and we can start testing things. All right, and I just got the belt in today for the mowing deck. I've got this routed on here. I'm going to go ahead and get this mounted up. I'll show you guys once it's on there. We'll double check, make sure that our tension is good, because as far as an electronic PTO, you're always going to have tension on your belt, as opposed to a cable driven PTO where you release the tension or tighten the tension with the handle. If you guys remember, we just have that front mount, goes on that front bar right there, and then these 2 spring-loaded tabs go on the back, and that's how we hook it up, and then just put the belt over the pulley. So I'm gonna get it on, and then we can check it out, make sure everything's good, and we'll button up this machine and test everything out. All right, and I just got the deck on here, got it mounted up, got that belt on. There was definitely a pretty good amount of tension on there. Try to get you guys down low enough where you can see, but I've gone ahead and turned this all over by hand. Made sure that our belt looks good, everything looks nice and even, which it does. So I think that we are ready to go ahead and crank it up. I have disconnected the seat safety for me to test this real quick, because I want to crank it up and then put it probably about half throttle, turn the blades on. We'll check to make sure everything is going smooth on it, and then we'll go ahead and turn the throttle up, double check, and make sure that our belt is good to go. Should be good. Everything seems to be good. Blades still need to be sharpened. I still need to level out the mowing deck. Got a few things I want to kind of grease, and still need to get this all cleaned up. So I will finish doing basically the cosmetic and little bit of touch-ups it needs. Still got to put the chute back on, glue down that sticker, some other miscellaneous things, but I will show you guys once I get this basically all buttoned up, and we'll do a good test run on it and hopefully wrap this tractor up. All right, I think we are pretty well set with the LT 1045 Cub Cadet. This thing definitely needed some work, but I think this will make a good tractor for somebody. We'll kind of just show you guys a little bit on the machine. I cleaned up all the plastics on it. Obviously we painted the mowing deck, cleaned up the engine on here a bit, so that looks good. We had that newer fuel pump on here. We got new fuel hose all the way from the tank up. It already had a new air filter in it. Let's see, got the carburetor on and adjusted. I did put a new one on here, and it works a lot better. It's a lot smoother, and it was only about 15 bucks on Amazon. Still probably gonna do an oil change come springtime. I know the oil looked new on it, but it wouldn't hurt to just start fresh. We have taken our tank off, cleaned that out. What else? Got a new battery in here. Still need to sharpen the blades, but when I do the oil change I will do that. But they were good blades on here. And I mean, other than that, this thing turned out pretty darn good. It still seems a little bit slow on startup. I don't know if the starter is just a little bit weak or what, but I have gone through, cleaned all the contacts. I did it on the starter solenoid, and it has a brand new battery. I'll show you guys. It might actually just crank right up this time, but it just starts a little, it just cranks over a little bit slow. But you guys can hear it idles down super smooth. It has a little bit of vibration, about a third throttle on the one of the idlers, but it's just where the spring rattles. When it gets above that, it's just as quiet as it is right now. New drive belt on here, and yeah, got the headlights all cleaned up. Lights are working good on here, so you guys can see definitely had some work. I'll go ahead and get you guys set up on the tripod. I don't really have any grass to cut right now. Obviously we're almost in winter, so we'll kick the blades on, we'll do a little demo of it, and we can wrap this mower up. But yeah, I'm excited. This turned out pretty darn nice for what we started with. Figured I'd take you guys for a ride for a second, show you the cruise control works on here as well. Mow and reverse works. I mean, everything on here is good. I probably could have replaced the pulleys on here for the idlers on the deck and one of the idlers underneath the mower, but realistically at the end of the day, this is probably gonna be like a $450 mower, and I'm not gonna put, you know, 30-40 hours worth of work and $200 worth of parts into a machine that's gonna end up at $400 to $450 at the end of the day. So if that's something that they want to change, obviously I'm more than welcome to, but this does run and function and work great as it is right now, and I think we had a pretty good outcome. Just let me know what you guys think on this mower. Hopefully this turned out pretty good in your guys' opinion. I think somebody's gonna have a nice tractor for the price, and I think we've got all the bugs worked out, and in springtime this ought to sell pretty quick. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you all for staying tuned. I really appreciate all the new subscribers and everyone that has stayed along for the journey. So on that note, let freedom ring, let the small engine sing. I'll see you all on the next one.